Wow, that's a lot of people. Hello.
Wow.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome to our webinar on how to level up your gliding game during lockdown. My name is Jake Brattle. This is Vinsley. We'll just wait a couple more seconds. Sorry, yeah, I'm kind of in the centre.
We did a bit of last minute prep, so please excuse us.
Right, let's start. Just for those of you that haven't used this software before, we've asked to put this guidance up to help you get the most out of it. So you can hopefully read all of this, and it will help you just to learn how to use this software. Just put that up for a few more seconds. Did you see how amazing the sky looked today? It looks so good out of our window over Andover.
It's very sad.
Yeah. Okay. Hopefully that's given you enough time.
First phone call from the audience. Thank you very much.
So a bit about us. I started gliding when I was 13. I started after a trial flight at Kent Gliding Club, and I basically loved it so much that I just kept going back. They were really good at Kent Gliding Club, the instructors, at making me progress quickly, helping me to progress, and they got me up to silver very quickly. I then went to University of Bristol, and at University of Bristol I joined Bristol and Gloucestershire Gliding Club at Nymphsfield, and they were really good at pushing me cross country, helping me to start with my first competitions. Now I've got 1,400 gliding hours. We both fly at Lasham, which is an incredible club where all of our friends together, we tend to push ourselves. And Finn, a bit about you?
Well, I was very lucky. I grew up in gliding. I first flew, I think, at 11, but I was pretty petrified, so it took a little while to get into it. But once I did, I was pretty hooked. I soloed at 15 at Granston, and was very kindly lent an SW28 to fly by Sarah Kelman when I was 17. She lent it to me, and I learned to fly cross country in that, and properly caught the bug of cross country flying and racing, and that's pretty much what I've done since. So yeah. 1,100 hours. Or just under.
At the age of 20?
22.
22. Pretty impressive.
Today we're going to cover quite a few bits. We've probably got about 25 minutes-ish of our bits. Please ask as many questions as possible, and save as many questions for the end as well. Anything you can think of. And I'm going to release what conditioner Jake uses today. That's our big release.
Unbelievable.
So pre-flight preparation, we're going to do a little bit on goal setting while we're in the lockdown, a little bit on task planning, how you can learn your glider without actually flying it, a bit about learning your equipment, again, on the ground, some flying technique, and what you can be studying, what's coming up, and then at the end, we're going to do the interactive question and answers. So yeah, think of everything you want to ask us.
Here we go. So some of the preparation that you can be doing now whilst you can't fly, get a well-equipped flight bag ready. So I've got my flight bag here. I'm going to take you through some of the bits I've got in it. 1/2 mil UK chart, very important. Try to cut the edges off that you aren't going to be looking at too often, and keep the important bits like all the radio frequencies or the key and everything to somewhere else, but that keeps it nice and compact. Task planning sheets. So most of the British teams swear by task planning sheets such as this one. This is probably what I use on every single cross country I fly now. It just helps do all the thinking on the ground, which means less thinking in the air, minimize your workload in the air so that you can concentrate on the flying. We've got a Google Drive link at the end that will give you access to this sort of information. On the back, we've got some AAT calculations, final glide calculations, and I put a little summary of the cross-country polar speeds for my glider at the bottom. Quite useful. What else have we got? Biodegradable pee bags. I cannot recommend these enough. It took me a while to get used to practicing peeing in gliders. Probably a good thing to do on the ground, actually.
No.
Yeah, get in the bath, get a pee bag, and
you don't have to do that.
Practice it. Would strongly recommend. What else have we got on here? Backup power pack. Very useful if you land out and your phone runs out of battery.
Mr. Organised.
Flying sunglasses. I personally use Big Atmo. There are lots of other brands out there, but get some good flying sunglasses. I can't stress how important this is. We all pay so much money for our gliders and our instrumentation, but one of the most important things is your eyes and being able to use them to the maximum potential.
Basically, anything with like a long-range color contrast. You can get a lot of cycling glasses are good as well, but these ones are very, very good.
Electrolyte tablets. So we've got a little bit about nutrition and hydration here. For eating in the air, I tend to use fairly dry, but things like saurine, banana, loaf, small things, just things that will give you some good energy quite quickly.
Bananas.
Bananas pretty good, or just anything like a sandwich. I sometimes take sandwiches. And then for hydration, I've started using the CIS cycling electrolyte tablets, which I really like. I tend to put them in my camelback. I think it's 2 or 3 in a camelback. And
performance athlete.
I've known it makes a big impact particularly at the end of long days flying. And we also mentioned a little bit about cushions and sheepskin. So it's quite important now to, if you haven't tried sheepskin before, I've found it quite comfortable, especially if you've got a lumpy parachute. And cushions, if you can get access to your glider, it's quite difficult for most of us, then try and get comfortable in the glider, see what you like flying with. I tend to use one big bit of contour underneath and then just adjust everything else to fit. Checklist, that's an important one. So we've got an AAT checklist, which we'll put on the Google Drive later. And this is my checklist. It's got everything that I need to do to prepare the evening before. I've got planning a big flight, and then things in the morning. And then I've got a final cockpit check, which is the main important one to have. And the main benefit of that is making sure that you've got everything you need before you go flying. How many times have we taken off and forgotten something obvious like pee bags or
never? I've never done it.
Food, or so reduce your workload on the ground, and the way you can do that is by by having a checklist.
And if you laminate it, you can cross it out and add things when you're in different countries, flying competitions, like the weekends, stuff like that, different gliders if you don't get access to the same one.
I tend to adjust mine every year for a different glider. Okay. Next slide.
So obviously it's the ideal time to be setting some goals, and they need to be appropriate for your glider and experience, and for the first time ever, sort of lockdown conditions as well. So I try and set some personal goals. I always try and set a short, medium, and long-term goal, and learnt this from G. Dale actually. He talked a lot about it in a lecture he did for Junior Development Squad. So some of my goals at the moment over the next 3 months, it doesn't look like we're going to be flying. So I've set some trailer and glider preparation goals. They include getting everything ready for the season, and I'm going to fit a transponder into the glider as long as I get access to it for the whole time, to make sure when we do start flying, I'm in the best prepared shape. For the next year, I have like a personal goal to make sure I get reselected for the Junior Worlds team for next year. I like to fly at least 120 hours of my glider this summer. Again, it could be tough if we don't do much flying, and work hard on studying and learning tactics and being really disciplined with how I use them in competitions I get to fly. Some like weak points that I'm trying to bring up, and a longer term goal is obviously coincides with my goal to fly the Junior Worlds. So I have to fly at least 250 hours before the 2021 Junior Worlds. Learn to fly with a new teammate, because sadly Jake's an old man now. He's got an old man beard as well.
Moved on.
He's left me for Tom and G. And fly at least 4 high-level competitions with some top competitors before the Junior Worlds to prepare as much as possible. And some other goals you could include is like getting your first share in a glider, or making sure it's like a good goal for me. I always turn right in thermals, so my goal is to make sure I practice turning left and right 50-50%, stuff like that. So you set some specific goals for you, short, long, and medium term, and make sure you work out what you need to do to achieve that goal, and write them down as well. Any personal goals for you?
I think process-driven goals. I'm flying a new glider type this year. I've moved to an LS7. I flew an ASW20 last year and a DG101 before that. So LS7, I need to just maximize my hours in that glider. So that's one of my big processes that I need to work on at the moment is just get flying whenever it's even vaguely soarable, when we can start flying again. The LS7 also has a reputation for being tricky to thermal or get the most out of thermals. So it doesn't matter, how bad the thermals are on a particular day, I need to go flying. So yeah, as soon as we can, I need to maximize my flying in that glider.
They have an LS7 on Condor?
No, they've got an LS8 though, which is
not the same, is it?
It looks the same. That's about
it. Task planning. So that's your section.
Yeah,
I'll
talk about task planning. Weather forecasting. So all of our weather forecasting models are still running. You can still use SkySight, you can still use Raft or Top Meteo. I'd strongly recommend still checking SkySight periodically. I check it once a week, twice a week, and look out for those days that are looking quite reasonable, and just monitor the weather during the day and see how, if it follows what the forecasting is saying. There's very little you can do in terms of comparing. You can't really go up and see what cloud base is, but perhaps what you can do is look at how the mid-level, high-level, and low-level cloud cover is changing, see how accurate it is at forecasting that. And comparing it with satellite pictures, I'd strongly recommend doing that. That's something that we do even when we're flying. So yeah, get used to using your weather forecasting programs. Practice planning tasks. So for those of you less experienced that maybe don't task set yourself, you can look for your club's tasks. They'd generally be found on the BGA ladder or on your club's website. It's well worth looking.
Question for you.
Cool.
First one.
What airspace software do you use, and do you import NOTAMs into your ED? Airspace software, I tend to use Sky Demon Lite is one of the free ones that you can use online, and that allows you to basically see the NOTAMs on a map.
You don't pay for it?
You don't, not Sky Demon Lite. Sky Demon Lite.
I've got normal one.
The other one you can do is NOTAM Info, which again puts them on a map. Slightly less easy to use, but
it's pretty good still. Yeah, I use that quite a lot.
Pretty good. For those of you a bit more experienced but haven't done much task planning, I'd strongly recommend reading Tim McFadden's excellent task setting guide, which we'll also put on the Google Drive link. Really useful for learning how to set tasks. And lastly, studying your local airspace to your club. So a lot has changed at Lasham this year, and we've obviously had to spend a lot of time looking at the map and getting used to where the airspace boundaries have moved for Farnborough. And I strongly advise you do the same at your club so that it becomes a bit more automatic when you're flying in the air. You don't have to think about it as much.
And if you've got any big flights planned or any goal flights, it's good to look at the airspace in the areas you're likely to be going as well. So sort of the perfect time to learn about your glider, really, and do all the study you can do. First thing I do is have a good read of the flight manual. It's certainly when I started flying the 20, I hadn't flown a flat glider before, so it was very, very useful to go over all the information in the flight manual. There's loads of useful flying tips and speeds and stuff like that you can read up on, and it was really useful, sort of fast track the learning in the glider. Another thing that we've both done with our past few gliders is print out a polar, and you can work out a few key speeds. So we both just use 3 speeds for 0 knot Macready, so basically your best glide, a 2 knot Macready, so it's basically average conditions, and a 4 knot Macready, which is very good conditions, and it's just 3 speeds to use, which massively lowers your workload in the glider. And you basically have some key blocks to work off that you can say like 60, 70, 80, for example. They're not the exact speeds, but they're good just to remember as a
pretty good for the 20. Baseline. I think that's what we use for the 20, just 60 when it's bad, 70 if it's good, and then 80 if it's really good.
Yeah, and again, like just super easy, and there's no stress, so you can just use those. Check YouTube out. There's often quite a lot of videos of people flying different glider types. You have to be a little bit careful because just because people are posting on YouTube doesn't mean they're doing things right. So beware. But yeah, there's some good stuff, and it's cool to watch people fly the gliders. And if nothing else, see with the 20s, I was just watching people on YouTube and where they put the flaps for certain speeds and stuff like that, and how they thermal. And some gliders have like a 3.5 flap in the 20, so it's good to watch that on YouTube. And you can find loads of information on blogs and forums and stuff. People have just spent hours typing bits up and arguing and debating about flap settings and stuff 20 seems pretty popular on the internet. So
yeah, I've seen blogs full of bells, and I've read a blog about LS7 flying. So yeah, there's loads up there.
for like pretty much every glider type as well. Okay. Are these questions here in this bit? If you click on
it. Equipment prep. So, flight computers. What can you be doing now while we're in lockdown? So, for those of you less familiar with your devices, you can get your UDs out or your smartphone, wherever you've got, whatever device you've got, and you can start setting up and optimizing your profile. So it's a really good time to start thinking about what sort of nav boxes you want to see on your UD, how you want it laid out. I personally prefer a minimalistic appearance, so I don't have very many nav boxes on mine, but this is a really good time to start setting that up. If you've got LX9000 or an LX8000 in your glider and you can't get access to it, you can use LX Styler, which is some software you can download from LXNav's website, and that will help you to start altering your profile for those. I'd also recommend you start practice using your kit. So use simulators. You can learn how it works in flight. A lot of these devices have a simulator mode, so you can simulate flying, and as I say, start seeing how the numbers work, how the device works. For those with LX9000s or 8000s, you can use LX Sim software, which is very, very good for that purpose. And this summer in particular, I'll be looking at the flight manual quite a lot, or referring to the flight manual, looking at the LX9000 manual to try and improve my understanding of how to use AATs or how to fly AATs using the LX9000. It's got quite a lot of functionality which I still haven't got around to understanding fully, but this is the perfect time to do it.
Nothing else to do.
Exactly. Practice putting tasks in your equipment. So again, especially AATs if you fly competitions, and it needs to be quick and easy when you go flying. And LXNav have got a YouTube channel which has got lots of very useful tutorials. We've just got some questions here which we'll answer now. So we've got where can I get the latest airspace? I'm a bit biased, but I recommend the NavBoys website. We've got them all up there for you.
I'm pretty sure this public thing, yeah, that is. Chat on there as well.
Can you talk us through your UD settings? I would say I'll just summarize the basics. I tend to use track up. Apart from when I'm thermaling, it automatically switches to north up. And I like track up because it helps me minimize my deviations on task. What's your preference?
Goal up.
Goal up.
Unique. Bit out there.
Good.
He's a sheep.
Next.
So flying technique, you can actually work on this on the ground, and as we'll go through a few things you can do. But first of all, there's loads of reading material you can look at. So these are like 3 technical books that we both have read and both really, really recommend. First one is Competing Gliders by Briglidori. It's probably my favorite. Really, really, really good. I just like how it's done, and I can understand what he's trying to say very easily. G's book as well is really, really good. They both are, and the third one's coming out soon. They're quite quick reads as well, so you can really take in a lot of info really quickly. And for those of you that know G, you'll understand how good he is at explaining, and it's the same in his book. It's really good. And an old but gold one is Reichmann's Cross Country Soaring, bit of a classic in gliding, and yeah, really, really good. Very, very technical and really interesting. More questions?
I think we'll come to some of these at the end, I think.
All right.
Other things you can do to try and improve or work on your flying technique while stuck on the ground. Can't recommend YouTube enough. It's so good for online lectures from Andy Davis, G Dale, Brian Spreckley, just to name a few. There's a interview with Sebastian Kauer. I can't remember who did the interview. It was someone in the States, I think. Well worth just search on YouTube Sebastian Kauer, and you'll find various interviews from him. All really fascinating lectures. Then there's lots of videos, of course, of various flights of various people. But whenever we're going to fly in a new site, for example, if I'm going to go fly in the Alps, I would watch videos of people flying from the same airfield. And next year, or this year rather, I was hoping to go to Harnweide. And again,
there's loads of stuff on there.
Well worth watching videos for the likes of Harnweide. new sites or new glider types as well if you're flying a new glider this year. Can't recommend that enough.
And Condor. So this is getting quite big at the moment. It's probably the best way you can work on your flying technique on the ground. To start with, there's loads of online competitions at the moment. UK Junior Gliding have a Condorovirus Championship that they're hosting at the moment. You can go and join that server. It looks really good fun and well worth doing. Husbos have said they have a Husbos Happiness Condor session, 2 p.m. on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sunday. So if you want to join in them, yeah, there's some times for you. And there's loads of servers on Condor at the moment because everyone's in the house. So you can literally tag on to any of them. You don't need to know people if you haven't used it before. Just go and join. It's pretty good for handling practice. There's obviously a few limitations. It's difficult to, well, impossible to get a feel, so you need to be aware of that. It's also impossible to move your head around unless you have a special thing to do that. So it's possible you can ingrain some bad habits into yourself, especially if you do a lot of hours with your head like glued straight to the screen, and you're reacting to the instruments when you fly in Condor. So it's important to be conscious of that to make sure you don't get into the bad habits. But it's yeah, really good fun. You can also connect your UDI or XC sorter it. So when you spend time on Styler, you put all your new task boxes, nav boxes in, and you put goal up and everything like that. You can actually test it on Condor, which is pretty good. But yeah, it's great fun, and it's probably the best way to stay engaged when you're not actually flying. So well recommended. Is there a discount as well? We can.
I'm not too sure at the moment, but if you just look on social media, it's all over social media at the moment.
I think there's a discount. Have a look. Probably can't say that, can we?
Well,
we said it now.
And post-flight analysis. So we're going to be doing another webinar on the 26th of April with a post-flight analysis tutorial, as well as looking at how to use forecasting, weather forecasting software. But for those who are confident using CU or have got some time now to teach themselves, these are some of the things that we strongly recommend looking at. So you should always compare your statistics with as many others as possible, preferably those that are flying the same tasks as you or have flown the same tasks as you. So over the winter, I tend to look at a lot of the flights I've done last year, particularly at the competitions, and I tend to download a sample of all the competitors' traces, and I'll compare things like climb rate. We'll go through some of these now. So climb rate, generally the person with the best climb rate will end up in the top 5% of results. So you really want to be maximizing your climb rate, minimizing the time you take centering, and minimizing your time in weaker climbs on a given day. Deviations. So on the statistics page, you can look at the glide distance that you've flown and compare that to the task distance. A 10% deviation, a 10% increase on that is usually quite good for your deviations. Average glide ratio, you can look at that and compare that to other competitors and see how yours compares in terms of you've got to use that in conjunction with the average glide speed, and again, that gives you an indication of how well you're routing through the same sky as your competitors. Then number of thermals and number of left and right. Finn's really good at turning right.
No, I'm good at turning left as well, but I just don't like it.
But if you look at the number of thermals, particularly the number that you're turning left and right, if you've got any bias, it's really important to try and practice turning the other way, get comfortable turning the other way.
Who is Rolf Harris?
so that you've got no bias when you're trying to center in the future. And you can even look at the operating band on the barograph page to gauge the risk that you're taking compared to your competitors.
What else can you be doing? One of my favorites is time lapses. I used to do this out the window at work for hours on end, and it's actually really good. You can actually pick up triggers. So on an industrial estate, often there'll be clouds popping just off the edge of it, like way more than is coincidence. And once you look on a map, you can see that it's a really clear trigger. It's amazing how often the clouds form in the same place. There's loads of time lapses on YouTube. You can look at ones in like mountain areas, so you can watch the waveform, and the same in flatlands. You can just see what the clouds are doing and how they're cycling and stuff. And you can also do it yourself, and you can actually do it, say like post cold front. You can see how skies are behaving and stuff like that, and take time lapses. It's really quite a good way to learn about reading the sky. Removing obstacles is another good one. So all of the things that were going to stop you flying this spring because of housework or trader work or anything like that, if you can get those done while we're in lockdown, it gives you more opportunity to go flying once we're eventually allowed back out. A bit of inspirational watching. 3 YouTube channels that I really recommend. Stefan Langer, he's a top German junior that Jake and I have both flown against. Yeah, really good pilot and amazing at making videos. They're really, really good. He's the guy that did the aerotow out with the DV panel, and you've probably seen loads of other stuff in New Zealand recently. It's really popular and really good. Matt Wright's YouTube channel with the shark on the glider. Amazing videos, pretty iconic now, and hours and hours of footage on there, so well worth watching. Watched loads of his stuff from flying the ASW20 before I started flying my one to work out what he's doing. And Lucas Delabole, member of the French junior team and now senior team, he has a YouTube channel called Delabole Gliding Channel, which is really good, and some amazing videos from the Alps there. And then some inspirational reading if you get hold of the books. Winning on the Wind by George Moffat is really good. I haven't read that one, so that's on my list. Sky Full of Heat by Sebastian Cover. I've read that one, amazing. Yeah, well worth a read. Story of Gliding, also on my list. Where No Birds Fly by Philip Wills. I've read that, really, really good. And then Benji and Claire do a blog called the Flying Grinch Couple, which is pretty unique, actually. There's not many people that do that sort of thing, and it's really, really interesting. And there's some really technical articles there, and there's also some blogs from competitions and stuff. And it's quite nice how it's done, so well worth checking that out. A bit different and really interesting. Anything else on
there? Flying Simon, I think.
Flying Simon's good.
Really good YouTube channel.
Put it in the if you can think of any, put it in the questions and answers for everyone to see.
We'll bring them up. Future BJ webinars. So we've got Chris Gill on the 1st of April. He's doing one about the soaring potential in Wales, and Mike Fox is doing one, I think it's on Friday, about launching and getting away. And then we're going to be back about doing one on weather forecasting and post-flight analysis on the 26th of April. We'll be doing a lot more in depth in that one in terms of how we use the software and what you can get out of it. Well worth following Chris on Facebook. Search MB Gliding on Facebook if you use social media. Any questions?
Here we go. I can get them on here as well, I think.
We'll go to the
Neil Gowdy. Yeah, I might have been corroded, Neil.
Let's have a look. Quite a few books can be downloaded for free from the BGA website. We've just got a note there.
Winning on the Wind is there. Nice.
I've actually put a lot of books as well on the Google Drive, which the link for you is there on the page.
Did you guys sleep together? We have shared a bed, yes.
Right. I thought we weren't going to talk about that.
Sorry.
Unbelievable. Have we flown much in the Scottish mountains?
Literally never. I've not even been to Scotland. I really want to.
Yeah, we are both desperate to go. But everyone keeps saying we need a turbo, and that kind of is a problem for us because we can't afford a glider with a turbo. But somehow we're going to get there and we're going to fly there because it looks epic. The pictures look incredible.
Very inspirational.
Yeah. What's been our favourite place to fly from so far? What's yours?
Leeton in Australia for like raw thermal power, and probably Eden Soaring in the UK.
Okay.
That was my favourite, but thermals was definitely Leeton.
I think my favourite place would be Amarama in New Zealand. That's obviously epic. And the French Alps. I did a advanced soaring course at Saint-Aubin 2 years ago, 2018, and that is easily the best flying I've ever done. We were so incredibly lucky with the weather. The weather was awesome for the whole week, and we got to fly like the best gliders in their fleet, the JS1s, Ventus 2s, Arcuses. It was, epic.
Rub it in, don't you?
Strongly recommend going to the Alps.
What about in the UK? What's your favourite place?
In the UK, it's got to be Nymphsfield. Nymphsfield is incredible. It's incredible ridge. You said it was your favourite place in the UK.
That's till I spent too many wet weeks in the Cotswolds.
It's an incredible place to fly. Great ridge, great access into Wales, and great access down to the south. inland. You can go anywhere, and it's beautiful in all directions.
Oh, Adrian Doherty, you're welcome on Duo anytime. Thank you very much. I'll take you up on that. How aggressively do you follow Macready in cruise, or do you believe in block speeds? I think we both use block speeds pretty religiously, really. I definitely yeah, I don't push and pull and lift much at all. Jake does a little bit more, we'd say, but yeah, both pretty hard on block speeds actually.
Yeah, and the main benefit of using block speeds is it means you're looking less at your instruments, you're worrying a bit less about your speed. You tend to just fix it at a cruise speed that you think is appropriate for the day, and then you can really focus your attention on looking outside the cockpit. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to look outside the cockpit. That was the biggest, I think, thing that I sort of noticed in my flying. Was I sat in the back of a Geodiscus. Howard Jones was flying in the front, I was sitting in the back. He was doing all the flying and all I was doing was watching. And the biggest thing I took away was just how much he was looking out and how he barely looked at the instruments. Probably 5% of the time you should be looking at the instruments. The rest of the time you need to be looking out, seeing that bird soaring in the distance, looking at the clouds, looking at your routing, looking out for other gliders. There's so many things that you need to be seeing. And the only way you can do that is looking outside the cockpit.
At Portmoak, okay, nice. We'll come to Portmoak.
Why do you fly the ASW20, Finn?
We both changed the ASW20s because the IGC handicaps changed, and we decided that we thought they'd be the most competitive gliders for us to go and fly the Junior Worlds in last year. So I think we were right. It worked out okay.
Well, we won.
So. Yeah, I'm not sure they were the very best glider, but I think they were. Robin Smith. Hello, Robin. We chose the ASW20s because we went to the Club Class Nationals in Hungary in 2018, and we got absolutely ruined by the locals who were flying ASW20s. Couldn't work out how we'd been beaten so badly, and convinced we were flying at least as well, and they were getting loads of like 100 plus points a day, and our climb rates were better. So because the conditions were like that, we decided that we had to be in the ASW20s for Junior Worlds. And I think despite the fact the weather wasn't as good when we were in Hungary last year, I think it was still the right decision. But that's why we chose, because we got beaten basically.
Yeah, and it was all instigated from the handicap change in 2018. That was what did it really, and that's why a lot of us that were flying lower performance gliders, standard Cirruses, DG 101 in my case, standard Lebel for Finn, that's why a lot of us ended up changing gliders to high performance. It was all driven by the IGC handicaps changing in 2018. Someone says, where is the photo? That photo was taken flying from Nymphsfield. That's the River Severn you can see, and we were just going through a shower. Yeah,
we scrubbed. We basically, the last glider launched, and the day got cancelled. So Jake and I flew up and down this rain shower for an hour or two. Pretty awesome, actually.
That was the Junior Nationals last year, 2019 UK Junior Nationals. Any other questions?
Amara was great. Oh, you were working there, right, Robin?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
For Jake, best beginner tasks to try from the Nymphsfield Aston Down area. I think some of the best or most common routes is inland. So going towards the east and then facing the sea breeze when you're coming back in the afternoon. And the number of times I've landed out coming back through that sea breeze, you just have to take a lot more margin than you expect the headwind to increase as you're coming back. I also really like flying down to the south coast from Nymphsfield. The scenery is stunning when you get to the south coast, and again the fields are pretty good going east and going south. A little bit more dodgy going to Wales, but the flying is even more incredible going into Wales on the best days.
Can we upload the presentation to Google Drive? Yeah, of course.
Yes, we'll put that
no problem.
All in that Google Drive folder.
Ricky question, but what's the best thing a pre-sailor pilot can do in lockdown? Get organised, get a checklist, and play Condor, I reckon. That's probably, if you can get onto the online servers for Condor, you can basically just see what the best guys are doing, and you can follow them pretty easily, I think, on Condor. And just learn a bit about competition flying from it. It's a pretty good tool, actually.
I think for the pre-solar pilots as well, you could get the BGA's instructor's manual, a lot of people think that's only for instructors, but actually it's a really, really good explanation of the entire syllabus. Really, really detailed, well worth reading, just to keep things fresh in your mind.
Is it Derek Piggott's book that's really good? It's like a baseline to like soaring and stuff. Derek,
there's so many gliding books out there. If you just put gliding books into Amazon and then look at the reviews, that tends to give you a pretty good indicator of what's worth buying.
Yeah, because I think if you're pre-solo, perhaps some of the stuff we put on there for like the technical soaring is maybe a little bit technical. But some Derek Piggott's book is really good. I think that's probably the best one I'd recommend.
What are thoughts on how to keep uni gliding clubs active during this time? So I was quite involved with the University of Bristol, or Bristol University Gliding Club. When I was there, I was president for a while and being active in the committee, and I know how difficult it is to keep people enthused, and I can't imagine how difficult it must be when we're not allowed to do any flying or socializing in any way, shape or form. Probably things like this, webinars for your members, try and get more experienced members in the club talking to those that are less experienced. Even better, try and get some instructors from your club to do webinars for the members, not just for the uni gliding club, but for your whole gliding club. It will be, I think a great way to try and keep your uni members active.
Probably a Facebook group, just keep everyone talking as well.
Like,
make sure no one drops out.
Putting pictures, YouTube videos up, keeping people enthused.
Any admin you can do now that you don't have to do in the summer is good.
What advice would you give for people competing in their first competition?
Get organised. If you can, get in a two-seater with anyone and do a day or two before. Then in a competition, that's ideal. But if not, get organised. Read all the BJ advice. Ask all of the pundits in your club who've flown competitions for some advice, and just literally get as many hours in your glider as you possibly can, so you can be as relaxed going into the first day. So pretty much what I'd do.
Yeah, definitely. Why did I change from the ASW20 to the LS7? Mainly the handicap seemed a bit more competitive on the LS7. The ASW20, you're right at the top end of the handicap, and depending on your competition, depending on the weather, that doesn't, it's not too much of a problem. But if the weather starts to get tricky, if the nature of the flying starts to get a bit more gaggly, and there's lots of gliders going around together, you don't want to be on the highest handicap, and that's why I switched to the LS7. It's more of a middle of the road handicap. Nice glider to fly, nice glider to own, and that's why I chose.
Not sure about own.
And it does help as well that I've got a teammate that flies in LS7 and another teammate that flies in ASW24, so it's a more similar glider to them than the 20 was. Another question here. Now you have another 7. How would you say you are going to change your view on how to fly this compared to the 20? A lot of people have talked about how difficult it is to fly in thermals, so the only thing I can think of doing to try and mitigate that is practice. So as soon as I'm able to fly it, I will be getting airborne in it. Other than that, just going through the polars, making sure I know the best speeds for it. But there's nothing you can do really other than fly it as much as possible. Josh Setford asks, how can I motivate juniors from my club to progress beyond solo, particularly during these times?
That's a pretty tough one, isn't it? Probably Facebook groups and stuff like that, messenger chats, WhatsApp, whatever. Just get everyone motivated, make sure they know where to find all of the inspirational material on YouTube and stuff like that. It's pretty hard, really. It's pretty unique to all of us. But I guess maybe they wouldn't be flying so much in term time for school or uni, so they're not losing too much. And just get them, I guess, set some goals and get some ideas in their head on how they want to progress and some of the gliders they want to eventually start flying and silver and stuff like that, and just get a plan in place for each person. I'd say it's probably the best thing you can recommend, but it's a pretty tough time.
Show them YouTube videos as well. Once you see the YouTube videos with competitions on, they were so inspiring for me and for both of us when we were starting up. Seeing the awesome footage of previous Junior World Championships and stuff, it made me think, I want to do that. I want to be there. I want to be flying those. Just can't recommend that.
There's a video of the 2009 Junior Worlds in Riscala that I probably have watched about 100 times in my life.
Yeah.
So
probably more.
Yeah.
It's that good. Adrian Doherty asked, what was your most scary moment? What was your... It's difficult on that.
I've never I've never had a couple of near misses, but nothing like really close. Probably gaggle flying. I think near missing gaggles a couple of times. Got wobbly knees, and I watched midair happen. That was pretty scary. Yeah, that's probably watching that was pretty bad.
I'm trying to think what mine was. No, probably the most scary moment. It's pretty boring, but was my first field landing. I think I was absolutely petrified going into it. Turned out obviously okay. It was a good field, but yeah, just getting that out of the way I think was my most scary moment.
We get pretty scared. I flew with Jake once, and that was pretty scary.
Very funny. We want to find a uni gliding club at Husbos. How would you recommend we start doing that?
I literally don't have a clue.
It's difficult. There's a Facebook page that's UK Universities Gliding, something like that. UK Universities, yeah. Maybe put a post in there. See if there are any active university gliding clubs.
I guess it would be Leicester, right?
Yeah, somewhere like Leicester. I can't think of anyone that I know that goes to Leicester in gliding, but there will be people. And I guess speak to UK Junior Gliding as well. Put posts up in the UK Junior Gliding events and such. Yeah, that's a difficult one.
I'll have a think about that. What's your favourite type of cheese? Emmental.
I was going to say Emmental.
Mm.
Yeah, I like Emmental cheese. CU or XC-Saw, and why? So I used to do a lot of flying with XC-Saw, and the way I personally tend to look at it is XC-Saw is 95% as good as CU. Is my personal view. So if you're just starting off, I think XC-Saw is excellent. As you tend to get more and more experience, CU has a more customization that I really quite like in terms of how you can display the nav boxes on the screen, how you can lay them out, which I quite like. I also like the AAT functionality that, well, both of them have, but particularly on CU now, they're bringing a lot more in terms of using CU Live, UD Live. So you can now start to download OGN data onto your UD. You can download weather data onto your UD and weather maps, which is really, really good. Useful seeing the SkySight maps on the UD. So yeah,
it's pretty advanced now.
CU has basically a bit more functionality, but if you're starting out and you don't want to spend too much money, XC-Saw is a pretty good place to start.
They're both good options.